Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Shook-Talley, and I am the Wellness and Recovery Manager at the Behavioral Healthcare Division at Arlington County. On behalf of the Behavioral Healthcare Division and the Department of Human Services, I would like to welcome you all to this very special program as we celebrate National Recovery Month. This year, things are very different due to COVID-19, but we hope that this virtual version of our recovery event will bring you as much hope and inspiration as prior live events. With all that is going on in our world, there are even more reasons to shed a spotlight on recovery. First, I'd like to thank a few individuals for their continued support of recovery. Anita Friedman, who is the Director of the Department of Human Services, Deborah Warren, who is the Deputy Director of the Department of Human Services and the Executive Director of the Community Services Board, Dr. Palmieri, who is the Behavioral Healthcare Division Chief, Delegate Hope, the Community Services Board, and the County Board. I thank you all for your continued support. Next, I'd like to invite our Director of Human Services, Anita Friedman, to say a few words.
Good evening. Welcome to our annual recovery event hosted by the Department of Human Services with the leadership of the Behavioral Healthcare Division. Every year for National Recovery Month, we have been getting together at Busboys and Poets in South Arlington, crowded together in a cozy cafe environment where we listen to stories and poems about people's journey through recovery. Well, now we're here through a video screen, but want to let you know that just as importantly, if we're not together physically, we're together in spirit. Tonight is a very important night, and one of the most important events that I think the Department of Human Services is involved in every year. Because we hear from people who are our customers, who are part of our community, who live with us, who break bread with us, who are sharing with us very intimate stories about their personal journeys through recovery. These journeys of recovery are reflections of deep personal insight, of hope, of struggles, but of a process through which people continue to emerge stronger and with greater self-confidence in their lives. Tonight we're going to hear from approximately 8 people. We'll hear poems, we'll hear stories, we'll hear music, and we will be able to enjoy the laughter and sometimes participate in the tears that they bring to us. It is truly an honor for us to hear these voices and to be graced with their presence. I want to thank Elizabeth Shook, who's the recovery coordinator for the Behavioral Healthcare Division, for organizing this event, which, by the way, is in its 7th year. Also, we are joined by many other individuals from our Community Services Board, from our leadership throughout the county, and in particular, I want to let you know that you will be hearing in a few minutes from our chair of the Arlington County Board, Libby Garvey. Thank you to the community, thank you to our leadership for always being so supportive. And most of all, thank you to the participants tonight who had the courage to share your personal journeys with us, and to the families and friends around you who support you, without whom we would not have the ability to provide this event tonight. Thank you so much.
On behalf of my colleagues on the County Board, I want to thank you all for attending this important event as we celebrate National Recovery Month. You know, there are millions of Americans whose lives have been transformed through recovery, but their stories are often not known. And that's the point of National Recovery Month, is to highlight these stories. And these are inspiring stories that in these dark times we all need. These are dark times for everyone. And these very special stories of people in our very own community who have been dealing with issues of mental and substance use disorders, they share their stories and show how they have really triumphed through some very difficult times. So I hope you will enjoy the stories and the talent that we're going to see this evening. And I also want to thank our Behavioral Health Division. Thank you you all so much for what you've done to help folks in our community and also to put together this event. And it is going to be inspiring for all of us. And these, as I say, these are dark times. We all could use some inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey. It is wonderful to have representation from the County Board at this important event. The Behavioral Healthcare Division at Arlington County provides comprehensive mental health and substance use services to adult residents of Arlington County, including case management, therapy, emergency and psychiatric services, and much more. More information can be found on our website. When we speak of recovery in terms of mental health and addiction, we often hear different meanings. What we know is that recovery is different for everyone, as we are all on our own journey. We also know it's not a linear process. There is a definition that is widely accepted that comes from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, states that recovery is a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. I think that's what we really all are striving for, reaching for our full potential. Those of us who deal with mental health and addiction issues are no different from those without in terms of what we want out of life. Each year, Recovery Month invites individuals in recovery to share their personal stories and successes in order to encourage others. This can help break down the barriers that have led to much stigma and discrimination for too many years. Tonight is an attempt to diminish this and to see people as the individuals they are and not their diagnoses. I do want to make the disclaimer that some of the things you will hear this evening are difficult to hear, but these are people's stories of recovery, and sharing their truth is what makes this so important. Tonight, we will hear from individuals who will be sharing their stories and their talent. We have some amazing people who are courageous enough to speak out about their recovery in order to help educate the community, as well as to help people understand that recovery is definitely possible. To start us off this evening, we have Anna, who is going to share her story titled, "The Journey to My Mental Health Recovery."
I don't remember anything too out of the ordinary from childhood, other than me being a weird kid with my eccentricities always being brought to my attention. Things started to change in high school, though, when I noticed certain circumstances or situations would cause me to react, feel, or behave in ways I'd later realize weren't normal or logical. Then college came. And in trying to find my place at school, I noticed that these reactions I had in high school started to intensify, become more frequent, and other things were now starting to pop up. At first, I tried chalking it up to stress, but it started feeling like more than anxiety, stress, and depression. More symptoms began, and the existing issues only continued to worsen. I tried a school counselor who got me started with therapy and medication, but the problems didn't go away. They only got worse, in both severity and number of symptoms, despite me trying to manage and push through. Finally, everything came to a head in a severe enough way that my parents and I were forced to deal with the fact that there was something seriously wrong, it was more than what we thought, and I needed help. Real help. That pretty much started my real mental health journey. This journey included years of trying to figure out what was going on with me, what did my parents and I do about it, which was the correct theory, how to deal with the side effects of the treatments, and so on, all while at the same time experiencing my growing number of symptoms, all of which were also getting worse. We also began to see there were other things at play in addition to the depression and anxiety. I had tried what felt like was everything under the sun. Tests, medications, types of treatments and therapies. Then there were the things that were done that made everything worse. I had multiple diagnoses laid on me, most of which didn't even seem to fit. All of this in hopes of trying to get things figured out and under control, as at this point, things were in a constant state of crisis. I had to drop out of school, couldn't have a job, had to move back home. Most of my relationships were decimated. Granted, I couldn't really have appropriate social interactions at this point anyway, and there were even times I couldn't be left unsupervised, and even times when I felt like I couldn't go on. But then, eventually, despite my mindset things couldn't ever be different, things started to change. My symptoms became a little less severe and weren't as debilitating, and I wasn't in a constant state of crisis. Getting the right medications, having a strong support network, including my parents, doctors, and therapists, as well as finding the right therapy started to help make those changes. For example, I started doing dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT. DBT is a type of therapy, sometimes in the form of classes, that can help teach skills to build a better life, like solving emotional crises and emotional regulation, solving emotional problems, and overall improving relationships and interpersonal skills. And I consider DBT instrumental in saving my life, even though I had to complete the classes and follow-up groups 8 separate times each. But I finally started to see the light. I started appreciating the idea of wanting to live again. Yeah, there were plenty of times where I'd taken 2 steps forward and 5 back, but things did eventually start to get better. My support network and I were finding out a little bit more about what was actually going on, what diagnoses I really had, and therefore a more appropriate treatment plan. The house of pain from DBT comes to mind. When you're in the basement full of fire and you have to climb the metal ladder to get to the next, better level, you have to go through pain before it gets better. This concept was certainly the case with me, more than once. But things did eventually start to get consistently better. It took a long time and by no means was a straight road, but I finally started to turn the corner. I was able to start socializing again. I was able to try exercising again, finding hobbies, having interests, and overall having things start to piece back together. I had learned about myself and discovered things like coping strategies, how to learn about my triggers, how to recognize warning signs and what to do about it, and all of the things that helped me to get my mental health to stabilize. Still by no means perfect, it was manageable enough so I could start my life again. Though it was tough, I had no other choice than facing it head on, as there was no other way out of my situation. As time went on, I eventually got to where I could get a job, an apartment, making friends again. I started getting all my independent living skills back, like meal planning, cleaning, budgeting, and just having responsibility. I even finally went back to school, which has sure tested my being able to manage. But the skills that I learned to deal with the worst of the worst when I was at my most severe have sure come in handy. I'm still learning, and I've certainly had some struggles after coming through to the other side, but at least now I'm better equipped. I also know it's not an end-all be-all. I also have more practice now in trying to recognize if something doesn't feel normal for me, so I can take a step back and see what needs to be done so one thing doesn't lead to another and it's gotten severe again. All of these different things combine to help me manage my symptoms. Even though I wouldn't have listened to or believed myself back then, if I could go back and tell myself 2 main points, they would have been to just keep going and to be patient. Another quote I like is, "When you're going through hell, keep going." I like this one because it reminds me to not only keep going, but it also makes me think now in life, hey, if I got through that, I can get through anything. Thank you.
Tonight, we also have 2 women who are part of the Addictions Corrections Treatment, or ACT unit, in the Arlington County Detention Center. The ACT program is a 9-month intensive treatment program for incarcerated adults who suffer from addiction. The program provides treatment that is both holistic and comprehensive. While in this program, clients work on changing themselves from the inside out, learning how to rebuild their lives in order to re-enter society as healthy, sober people. First, we have Nina, who completed the program a few weeks ago and is waiting to appear in court and hopefully be released. Like many women in the ACT program, this is Nina's first treatment experience, and she often says she never wants to live the kind of life she had while in her addiction. Nina loves expressing her hopes for the future in poetry, as well as describing the things she has survived while in her addiction. Nina will share a poem titled, She.
Hi, my name is Nina. I'm going to read for you a poem today that is about my experience with my addiction. I'm doing this for Recovery Month because I want to reach out to people and let them know that there are people that are struggling with their addiction as well, and to just hang in there, and that addiction is an everyday task and recovery is possible. Okay, here goes. This poem is called She. She avoids mirrors as she deteriorates from the inside out. She's told she's beautiful, but she doesn't feel it, she doesn't see it, she doesn't understand how. She wears sleeves in the summertime to hide the tracks, evidence of her nightmare. She lives with a monkey on her back, beating her down until she lays her head to rest on the cement in front of whatever store she lands in front of that night. She cries herself to sleep on the nights she doesn't nod out. She's sitting on a public bathroom floor and crawling with the roaches, blood stains on her jeans, traces of her wrestle with the hypodermic. She tries not to disturb it, the monkey on her back choking her, not letting her croak out the words, "Help me." She finds the vein, pushes the plunger down, lays down on the dirty floor, and hope her heart bursts from the concoction of uppers and downers she secretly overuses. She wakes to banging on the bathroom floor, her equipment scattered around her. She collects herself and catches her reflection, hollow, she's a ghost. She stares down at the hole in her hand from the abscess that once ate her flesh. She rolls down her sleeves and covers her scars, hops on the train and counts the cars. She barely whispers, "Sir, can you spare some change?" She's a mess. It's strange. No matter how much she tries, she can't die. Her life is a lie. She lives high to high. If she was a bird, away she would fly. She never smiles anymore. She never sings anymore. She never hugs her mother, and it's like she doesn't have a brother. She's another bum on the street, another cokehead on beat. She is me, living incomplete, broken down and beat, drugged for my defeat.
Next is Ebony, who will complete the ACT program in a few weeks. While Ebony's story, A Face of the Epidemic, is very personal, it is also a universal story of how addiction so powerfully affects an individual's ability to live safely and happily. Among other things she says she has learned, Ebony has reignited her hope for a better future.
Hello, my name is Ebony Warren, and I'm in Arlington County. Facility. I was asked to do a paper or something on recovery, and I myself, I'm in recovery, but I think that it's important for people to know that addicts are more than statistics and numbers. We're people with stories, and if you get to know the stories behind the people, then you can do something about it. This is called A Face of the Epidemic. I remember walking home from school by myself on one of the rare occasions that I went. My mother had not showed up and I was 6. Maybe she's not home as usual, but as I approach, I somehow know that something is wrong. See, I took care of her and my sisters, and I hated at 6 that I couldn't stop the insanity that was my life. When I walked into the basement, which was part shooting gallery and part our living space, I immediately started looking for my twin sisters. And when I find them in a corner rocking back and forth, I know that today will change my life forever. Then I hear a man's voice and I follow it to the back. And there on her knees, standing, and my mother on her knees, and 2 men standing in front of her, and one of them had a gun. I knew in that moment I could deny her nothing. I took care of her when she was drunk or when she nodded out with a needle in her arm. I pulled it out. So when she looked at me and said, "Mommy needs a big favor," I somehow knew that my needs didn't matter. Everyone else came first, and sometimes sacrifices have to be made for the survival of everyone involved, even at the expense of your very own existence. So that day, I traded my innocence for her life while she held my hand through it all. See, I've lived in an epidemic long before the world acknowledged it. I am a 5th-generation addict. Addicts are beautiful, misunderstood people who just want a break sometimes because life can be cruel. We assume our realities are all-consuming and our feelings will strangle us. Being here gave me the opportunity to be clear-headed long enough to see that my life can change. I don't have to die a statistic, and my mother's life was not a prophecy for my future. I almost turned it into one, and only I can do that. I am not evil. Evil was just done to me. I am not my mother. I just came from her, and life is bearable. Being in recovery is only one dimension of the many that make up me. I am an integration of all my experiences, failures, and successes. I am a mother, a sister, a good friend, and a fragile woman. I mess up sometimes, but that only makes me human. Get to know the stories behind this epidemic, because that's where the healing starts. Every one of us has a story to tell. We are more than numbers. We want help managing our disease.
Next, we will hear from Linda, and she will share what she has titled Linda's Recovery Story.
I was born to 2 German immigrant parents who survived the Holocaust. While they did the best job they could, they were physically, psychologically, and emotionally abusive. They would fly off the handle for anything and everything. In spite of my parents being unsupportive and unwilling to help and give, I still graduated high school and went on to college with the help of therapy. I struggled very much with tests and didn't get good grades, but with much perseverance and hard work, I graduated college with a BS degree in marketing business. After college, I had an 11-year failed relationship with a person who wasn't right for me. We ran a pet sitting service together, and I had a lot of trouble leaving due to childhood issues. As I decided to leave, I met the person who would become my husband. I had a wonderful married life for 18 years, traveling the world and hiking together. Unfortunately, in 2015, he became sick for 7 years and passed away in 2015. His family made the time around his death very difficult for me. This caused me to become suicidal and hospitalized twice. Arlington County Behavioral Health helped me with my recovery through wellness groups in cognitive and psychiatric therapy and Clarendon House. I have taken many classes to continue my road to recovery, and I have continued to hike and cook and take care of myself. Please never give up.
And now Kevin will share some thoughts about depression titled Big Scary Monster.
Hello, and welcome to my PowerPoint presentation. What? We're not having a PowerPoint presentation? Okay. I mean, I worked on this whole, with charts and, okay, fine, whatever. Hi, my name is Kevin Kahn. I have a full-time job. I have my own car. I have my own apartment and take care of my dad with his health needs. I'm also someone who's attempted suicide over 5 years ago and has been in therapy ever since to help with my lifelong battle with depression. The biggest thing I've learned and what I want to share is that we are not alone in this battle. The way history makes depression sound, it's as if it only affects crazy people who are hidden away immediately from the general public's fragile lives. That's not true. Well, it kind of is, but there's more to it. The truth is, depression was born in a rural town outside of North Carolina. What? That is not, I don't even know why I wrote that down. The truth is, depression in some form is inside of us all, and that's okay. While I believe we have become more aware, I still feel much more understanding is still ahead of us, with more compassion and understanding the connection between us all. Depression wants to make you feel like you're worthless and that you're all alone. It wants to mock you and call you weak. Society, sadly, has projected that attitude as well. But the truth is, so many of us live day to day battling internally our own demons, all the while working a job and other ways of being functioning members of society, all with those demons within. It's like we're X-Men, and that's our mutant power, blending in. But that power is draining. So how does one find help in recovery? Well, it's different for everyone. But for me, it's talking to my friends. It's being creative. It's taking my mind off negative thoughts by watching a favorite film, like Galaxy Quest. Joining groups that may deal with topics that interest me, or take exercise classes. It changes all the time. And that's the thing about the human mind. It's always moving. Society wants us to have a quick fix. But depression doesn't work that way. Nothing does, honestly, except pyramid schemes. 80% of the time, they work all of the time. It's been 5 years. I'm still working on my depression. But that's because I've had a lifetime of ignoring it. I'm still working on losing weight, but that's because most of my life I I tried losing weight poorly. I still have parts of me I'm working on. Just like everyone else is in this scary, big, beautiful world. We are all different, but we are all the same because we all have love in our hearts and we all struggle. The hope I have is that one day sooner than later, we will all come together and realize that depression is not some scary monster that comes out at night, but it's a part of us, and all that it just needs is care and attention to hopefully heal us within. Thank you. Check out my graphic novel next year, Commander Tomorrow, in 2021. I've been working on it a very long time. I wrote and created it. I didn't draw it. I can't draw. I should learn how to draw.
Denise will share what she has titled My Story Through the Eyes of Spoken Word.
Hey guys, I'm Denise, recovering addict. Happy National Recovery Month, by the way. So I would get into my story, but my story is my spoken word, and how I got into spoken word was I had a substantial amount of clean time years ago, and I found my gift, and I remember I used to write a lot when I was under the influence years ago, and I just write. I didn't think nothing of it, and then when I got clean, I started writing more, and I started speaking more, and I started sharing places, the Carver Center, doing spoken word everywhere. And I noticed, I found out that it was my release. It was my release for all my pain, my grief, my suffering, and it was a way for me to connect with others and for others to connect with me. And it was also, it also gave me courage to be vulnerable. And so my story's my spoken word, it's not only a gift, but it's my life, it's my story, So here we go. At birth, I felt like I was born with a curse. I felt like the whole world was against me, and I thought the universe was out to get me. I grew up with no love. Both my parents were on drugs. I got addicted straight from the womb. The streets were my classroom. Every day, the first 10 years of my life, I stayed watching my parents shoot dope and constantly losing their balance in the bathroom. I remember my first overdose and my first high. It should have killed me, but shooting my first lethal dose, you'd think I would have wanted to stop. But the rush was so intense, I lost all common sense. I kept chasing that ghost that wanted me dead. I spent years in active addiction trying to run from the demons in my head. Most days I just wanted to die. I didn't want to be alive. I was empty. I was dead inside. My story ain't pretty, but we're all broken. We're all alive because we're all chosen. I'm learning that I have the disease of addiction. It ain't a moral deficiency. My disease took me to some dark places, had me believing I was weak, had me believing I was made for weakness. But the death of my ex put it all into perspective. I don't need to give a description. I just need to give myself permission. Permission to grieve, cry, and share my pain. I could play the blame game. I could even abstain. But without the internal work, I drive myself insane. The rush of cocaine and the dope rushing through my veins, I know I could throw in the towel and run away from my pain. I could go numb or maybe not even survive my next relapse. Or I could practice steps 1 through 3. Let go, let God, and let the pain set me free. I lost my ex-girlfriend a few days ago. I don't keep getting back up for me. I do it for my ex and the people who are struggling just like me. The old saying is, some of us have to die for some of us to live. It's painful when we lose people we love, but it teaches us to move on and it teaches us to forgive. Most days I want to get high, forget the world and run away from me. But I'm learning, everywhere I go, I take me with me. The fight inside of me says, if you really want to be free, you got to put the work in. We all fall, but the most important thing is getting back up. Don't give in. All we got to do is let go. We can change our destiny. I want to leave behind a legacy. I got kids that don't deserve to not know their mom tried and dug deep within. They deserve to know that I got back up and I fought again. I know it ain't going to be easy with all the pain and the grief, but I'm determined to change. It's long overdue. I don't do this stuff for the ones who have it all put together. I do it for the brokenhearted and the ones who I know can do better. I know Carrie, my ex, is looking down. I could hear her saying, "Keep going, Denise, I'm so proud of you. I've always told you your spoken word is a gift that not everyone can do. You got a gift, now it's time to let me go and give that gift in love to yourself and others. He who is blessed the most has to endure and suffer." The disease of addiction has taken so many of us that I just want to be around to hug the next newcomer. Time is short, the clock's ticking. What you gonna do? Watch time fly, pass you by? Or fight and hold on long enough to give yourself a chance to recover? That's it, guys. Thank you. And happy National Recovery Month.
Larry and Shisha will share a little about their recovery and their song titled Ask.
Hello, we're Larry and Patricia. We've had a long recovery journey, and music has always been a healthy, important part of it. Sometimes it's been easier to relate through music than it has been through other ways. And music is the best medicine, as Shisha often says. Shisha and I started playing about 6 years ago when we met, and been having some great time with it. This is a song I wrote a few years ago for a friend who passed away, a high school buddy who passed away. It's called Ask. If I ever get to that place, if I ever get to that place, there'd be no more smirk on my face. Feels like I'm running in a long, long race, and I'd ask why. I'd ask them just why, and for no more goodbye. I'd ask them just why. Yeah. If I ever get to that place, if I ever get to that place, there'd be no more smirk on my face. Feels like I'm running in a long, long race, and I'd ask why. I'd ask them just why, and for no more goodbyes. I'd ask them just why.
We are speaking the language of love. Oh, we are singing the language of love. The language of love is moving us to love. Lost and looking for the inner
Place.
The good directions came much
Get to that place, there'd be no more smirk on my face. Feels
are
like
my
I'm
love
running
and you
in
are
a
my
long, long race.
soulmate.
And if I ever get to that place, if I ever get to that place, there'd be no more smirk on my face. Feels like I'm running in a long, long race, and if I ever get to that place, if I ever get to that place, there'd be no more smirk on my face. Feels like I'm running in a long, long race, and if I ever get to that place, if I ever get to that place,
place of beauty and of grace.
if I ever get to that place.
Last, but certainly not least, John will share a little of his story of facing mental illness.
You might not know this about me, but I have a mental illness, and it's really tough for me to talk about, but it's also really important for me to talk about now more than ever. I feel like a little bit of my experience, if someone else is going through something similar, and maybe this can offer them a little comfort. I was diagnosed with manic depression when I was 20, and that diagnosis really sort of altered the trajectory of the way I sort of looked at myself, and also I think sometimes the way other people looked at me too, and it sort of put a cap on my potential. I sort of felt like, and I was sort of losing hope after a certain number of years. I just couldn't seem to figure out how to navigate dealing with living with manic depression, and about coming up on 2 years ago, I met my therapist through Arlington County, and Cecilia has helped me so much in getting my life together, getting my emotions together, and she's given me the tools to navigate understanding how to live a complex life with family and friends, and dealing with the ups and downs, normal ups and downs of life, and dealing with them like an adult. And part of being an adult is addressing if you have a mental illness. And that sort of compassion that she showed me, and offering her help and really getting to know me as a person, really made me want to sort of do it for her. And I thought, if she's putting so much of her time and effort and heart into helping me getting my life together, then maybe I should start looking at having a little more self-respect. I think that was a really important lesson that she taught me, and it's such a gift. And a big thanks to everybody at the Behavioral Health Division at Arlington that devotes so much time and energy to helping people like me. Makes all the difference in my life. And I think right now more than ever, we really need each other, and we need to connect. And I just hope everybody knows that it's okay to say that you have a mental illness, and it's okay to talk about it. And thank goodness for living in a place like Arlington, where you can talk about it and you can get help if you need it. And it's just it's such a beautiful thing.
Thank you all very much for taking the time to view our special event. A big thank you to all of our presenters and the hard work they put into sharing their recovery journeys. And this presentation would not have been possible without Rob Farr, who is the Arlington County TV producer, who is responsible for putting this film together. Thank you so much. I hope you have been inspired this evening and you have seen some great examples of recovery. Thank you.